distinguished guests, Robert Wilson, Mr. Chairman of our Flatbush Park Jewish Center, and our very reputable and very dear guest, Father Dubois, who is my personal friend for last 20 years, 20 years, and for friend for all Jewish people. In this work, what he did is tremendous. I will have opportunity maybe to talk about him. He was the one who found out hundreds and hundreds graves, mass graves, where Jewish people was killed in former Soviet Union, Ukraine, Russia, and other countries. He memorized these places. He made it tremendous, tremendous work. And trust me, he is Catholic priest, French citizen, if I remember correct, honored by Israeli government, honored by French government, honored by US government. A person whom today we don't have another one. But the reason why we came here is simple. We want to remember our parents who was in Holocaust, our grandparents, who majority of Carpathian whom I know here never saw, like me, I never saw my grandparents. Remember for this sacrifice what they did it for us. Yesterday I was watching a film, late evening, Rabbi after Shabbos, and I saw Auschwitz and Mauthausen. Mauthausen was the last liberated in Austria, and it was one Spanish communist who was also there. Jews actually was less there, like others, and he was a photographer for the SS, and he saved over 10,000 pictures, and he was on the Nuremberg court witnessing the atrocities what the SS in Germany did. Our parents and our grandparents went through this. It's not simple. That's why I would like, until we can do this, until we are able to do, I have very little young people here seeing, and I want to say this to the young people, to our kids, to your grandchildren. You should continue this until you have out. This can be not forget, and not forgiven. And you can see it what is going on today in the world, where everybody is blaming us, Jews, in Israel, in America, and all over. So we don't resist. At least we don't do this what we have to do here. Believe me, this is not bring to that point. I'm sure we will win. I'm sure that our Israeli army will prevail. And I want to wish everybody gesund and mazel. Everybody should be healthy and wealthy for a long, long time. Thank you very much for listening. And I will hand over to, I want to say thank you for our organizer who will be for next 120 years, Hannah Hoffman, who is doing, please applaud her. Without her, this will not happen, trust me. She's a very good organizer. She's working with my assistant Irene very closely, and Irene, who is not Jewish, but she works in the company where a majority is Jewish. She's more Jewish like that. She sometimes knows more, like we're saying, a getter guy. So for us, it's very important that the Flatbush Park Jewish Center is helping us. Our person is always helping us, whatever we, and I think we should do this every year. Hannah, God should give you more health and spirit to do the same what you're doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good afternoon, dear friends, honorable guest, Father Patrick Dubois. We would like to open this ceremony, and I would like to invite Rabbi Person to give a couple words welcoming us to his synagogue, this beautiful, beautiful synagogue. Rabbi Person, could you please come?
I want to begin by just thanking first Dr. Alex Roth for being behind this get-together every year. This is the second year that I'm here at the Holocaust Memorial run by the Carpathian community, and we certainly appreciate it. We have Mr. Spiegel here as well. Always good to see you. And Hannah Hoffman for putting it together. And our father here. Thank you so much for being here and being with us. We greatly appreciate it. I want to just say that we look at anti-Semitism, and anti-Semitism is literally a shape-shifting virus. You know, at one point, when Jews were in Europe, we were hated for the fact that we were poor. As time passed by, we didn't remain poor, and then they hated us because we were rich. And after that, they hated us for not integrating into society. And then when we integrated, they hated us for integrating too much. And in an era where you were allowed to hate people for their religion, we were hated for our religion. And then when that was unpopular, so we were hated for our race. And when you couldn't hate people for their race, so we were hated because we were stateless. We didn't have a state. And when we finally, Baruch Hashem, got a state, we are hated now because we have a state. Ladies and gentlemen, my message to our enemies is a simple message, and I quote a pasuk. The pasuk in Micha says, Al tismechi ki nofolti kamti. Don't be happy because I fell, because I'm going to get up. And what that means, what the pasuk means, is when a Jew falls, he taps into a superpower that he never knew he had within him. He becomes a better version of himself. We become a better version of our nation. Ki eshe b'choshech. When I sit in a place of darkness, when I'm ostracized, when I'm alone, when I'm alienated, when I have no one around me, no one to stand up for me, Hashem oiri li. Hashem becomes my light. That's when God becomes the clearest to us. That's when we become the most connected to our roots. And that is what I see today. Thousands and thousands of sleeping Jews are all waking up. They're all waking up to their Jewishness. You know why? Because we're now becoming the strongest nation that we have ever been. The Holocaust made us so strong that we got the state of Israel. But now, there's going to be a step further. We're going to come together in such a way that one day, very, very soon, we'll be able to bring Mashiach. And Be'ez Hashem, may it be in our days. So all I want to say is thank you to the Carpathian community for putting this together and coming and becoming united. And this is what we need to see. Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael is alive. Every single Jew I know is waking up. Am Yisrael Chai. Thank you, and Be'ez Hashem we receive the final Geula. Amen.
Thank you, Rabbi. What a privilege to stand here before you to commemorate our 6th Holocaust service for our Carpathian community. Growing up as a child of Holocaust survivors, I was always affected by sadness when my parents were talking about it. At a very young age, I couldn't imagine how could someone be so brutal in not caring about the human life. On December 10th, 2008, when I was invited by Dr. Bernard Weinstein, Holocaust and Genocide Studies at King University, New Jersey, to speak to a group of students about my parents, the Holocaust survivors. They were so touched by my story and understanding of horror of what happened to them. I always believe that we have the responsibility to educate the young generation to make sure that hatred has no place on earth. I want to take the opportunity to thank Alex Roth for supporting and sponsoring this important and meaningful event, and Irina Ponomaryova for all her help. Special thank you to our honorable guest speaker, Father Patrick Dubois, for accepting our invitation to attend our annual Holocaust Memorial Service and share with us the details about his research on the Holocaust. The book, The Holocaust by Bullets, made a huge impact on me. Thank you, Eva Schaller, Education Coordinator at American Friends of Yachad and who is traveling with Father Dubois to assist with logistics. This year, we have a special speaker, Rachel Klein, my daughter, who was traveling to Israel with Jewish Federation of Metro West New Jersey on 4 days mission trip, visiting the horrific places where the terrorists attacked the innocent people. She will share her experience. Special thanks to David Mandler for the dedication to his very important part of our service. Big thank you to my grandson David, who works with me year after year since he was 11 years old on the logistics of the event. This year, David and his friends, Haley and Danielle from Diller Teen Fellows, are volunteering to help with setting up the hall. Thank you so much. David, my grandson, with the group Diller Teen Fellows, was traveling last year to Poland, Austria, Czech Republic, and Germany, visited Auschwitz, Treblinka, and toured the Warsaw Ghetto. Big thank you to Rabbi Person and Stephanie for dealing with my many phone calls, and of course, the community for sharing this beautiful synagogue with us. And I want personally to thank my dear family, my husband Lotzi, kids, and grandchildren, taking a big part in this special event each year. Thank you. David Mandler will perform the Israeli Hatikva. Please, David, take the podium.
Please.
כל עוד בלבד ונימה נפש יהודי הומיה ופאתם מזרח קדימה עין ציון Sophia, od lod do tikvatenu, atikva shnodavayim, liot hamachomshi ne'aretzenu, Eretz Zion Yerushalayim Leot Amecho B'Shim Me'aretzenu Eretz Zion Yerushalayim. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light, oh, what so proudly we hailed at the twilight last gleaming, whose broad stripes and the bright stars through the perilous height over ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets let glare, the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
I want to introduce you Chief Senior Advisor to Mayor of New York, Joel Eisdorfer, very good friend of us. Deputy Chief of NYPD in New York, Richie Turner. And Assemblyman from New York State, where is he left? I don't see. Ah, here is. Okay, Alec Brook Krasny. And I want to just recognize these people because these people always was helping for the Jewish community, besides they're Jews, but this is not the biggest thing, because a Jew is not easy to be. Somebody knows and we know also. But I want to also recognize what I forget, and my friend Michael Spiegel forget me, I forget him to mention that his work in this event tremendous. And you remember, several of us remember that all these events except last year and this year, or maybe before the COVID did it in the Yeshiva, our Yeshiva Tzvidov Roth Academy, but now we decided it is much more comfortable here, and this way with that. So Michael, thank you very much, and I hope you will be in the future also helping all us. Okay, thank you.
And she said, oh, I will show you. And she put her boots, she put her jacket, and she brought us at the end of the village, and she showed 18 small mass graves. She told me I dreamt all my life to find somebody to say what I did. She was 14 years old, Ukrainian, and the morning when the German arrived, they called 10 girls and with a spade. And she asked her mom, must I go? And the mom told her, if you don't go, we will shoot you. And so she was forced to walk on the corpse between every shooting, to pack the corpse, to make space. And she said, suddenly all my schoolmates, Jewish schoolmates arrived, and I had to walk on them. My mom came back from the market and she told us we have to suit very well because they killed the Jews this afternoon. So they were suited and they went, and she said for the first shooting we got a very good place, we saw everything. But for the second shooting we didn't get a good place. The Jewish women, before being killed, they threw their jewels because they don't want to give them to the German. And sometimes we find Magen David, the wedding rings, a medallion. And I say, it's the last jest that this girl did in 42, just before she was shot. And every time I find it, I say, we found you, finally we found you. I never pray because it's to respect the Jewish identity of these people, so I never make a prayer. The fact is to say, finally we found you. Me, when I go with my team, I say, don't forget the dead people are waiting for you. They wait for us since 70 years. When you were sure you were not Jew, you were not gypsy, you were not gay, you were not communist, you were not partisan, why you would be afraid? So you went to watch. People are attracted to go to watch people being killed when they think they have no risk for them. One lady, by example, she told me, I went to see all the shooting. It was 17 and she was a teenager. And I said, why did you stay to see all these shootings? And she said, it was interesting for the children. And I heard this phrase now hundreds of times, interesting for the children. I realized also that everybody could be a killer, everybody could be a victim. When I knock at a door in Russia, Ukraine, or anywhere, they open the door, and I don't know at that moment if they save Jews or kill Jews. And I would discover that in the interview. And me, when I was younger, I was thinking that the killers had awful faces, were psychotic, were monsters, and the saviors were nice people. Unfortunately, it's only one humankind. And so, everybody can be a killer, everybody can be a victim. It's why we have to teach people to say, one day you will have to take responsibility. Sometimes you can think in America you are in a bubble of protections, but that's not true. There is only one planet, and it's burning in so many countries. be aware, when it begins, it's a disease. The people who spread their disease are smart also. We are never to underestimate the enemies. It's a big mistake. You know, when I was young, people told me, don't speak to deniers. They're old. You have not to speak with them. They will disappear. They are still old, but suddenly there arrive new deniers now who are 40 years old, 45 years old, who are driving crowds of people behind themselves. So I learned, I say, what a mistake. And I say, you must stay in a fighting position. The worst would be to sleep well and to dream, because you will wake up in a nightmare. The people who saved Jews, most of them were simple people. And we had a lot of Jews who survived of France because thousands of French took risk to hide them. So me, I always say, I believe in minority. I believe in minority who stand up and carry the flag, and after they can draw people behind them. So, for example, when I teach in Georgetown or we teach in other places, I always say, one day perhaps you will be part of this minority.
So I think some of you are surprised to see a Catholic priest with a French accent the day of Yom HaShoah in your wonderful synagogue and with the community of Munkach. You know, my grandpa was deported from France to Ukraine in 1942. He was deported in Rabarovska, and after in Strij, and after in Lviv. But he never accepted to speak. He never said anything. And one day I went back to Ukraine and I discovered the first mass grave. I will never forget. The mayor of the city brought me to the mass grave with 50 farmers, Ukrainian, were present at the killing. And they began to explain. They were simple people, poor people. One, he said, I was keeping a cow with my mom, and suddenly a German came alone with a motorcycle. And he went. And all the village was asking, what for? In fact, now we know, 2 days, 3 days before the killing of the Jews, the German sent an architect to calculate the volume of the mass grave according to the number of Jews they want to kill. 2 days after arrived 3 Germans with a truck of Jews, and they forced the Jews to dig. You know, the Germans were worried, so they asked a gramophone to listen German music. And one was playing harmonica. And later, us with metallic detector, we found the pieces of harmonica. And suddenly they said to the Jews, you should rest and go out of the grave. So the Jews went out and sat down, and secretly a policeman put explosive down. After I said to the Jews, go on, so all the Jews exploded. At that moment, another witness, her name was Maria, she told me, I was a girl, I was 14 years old, and the German asked me to climb in the trees to take the pieces of corpse and hide them with branches. And after they brought trucks and trucks and trucks of Jews. Only in 1 day and a half, 1,500 Jews. Only with 2 shooters and 3 pushers. Why pushers? Because if somebody was too old or too slow or a baby, he was buried alive. And they told me after the mass grave was moving during 3 days. I was in a shock. I was thinking I would come back to France. I understood the secret of my grandpa. He saw the killings. But the mayor of the city told me, Patrick, what I did for you in 1 village, I can do for 100 villages. So now with my organization called Yachad Inunum, since 20 years, we have found the mass grave of 2 million Jews. We work mainly in Ukraine, in Russia, in Belarus, in Latvia, Estonia, Lithuania, Poland, Romania, and Moldova. There is no country without mass graves. In Ukraine, nearly there is one mass grave per village. So what did we find? First, that the people wanted to watch. For me, it was the most surprising. I was thinking the killings were secret, but the people, when they knew it was a killing, they woke up and they went. I remember a witness, she told me the director of the school came and said, tomorrow no school, because we kill our enemies. You can go to watch, it will be the lesson the day after. And she told me early morning, we were 37 children, and we went to the mass grave. It was too early. There were no Jews, no German, so we waited. And she said, I cried all the day when I saw the shootings. So I asked this old woman, who was a child during the war, why did you stay a full day? And she told me something I heard hundreds of times. It was interesting for us, the children. So you must understand all the genocide of these Jews who have not been in camp, not in Auschwitz, not in Belzec, not in Sobibor, but killed like animals in a field, in a forest, anywhere. It was public. It was like a carnival. It was like an attraction. And the Germans took pictures, a lot of pictures, private pictures. We found 400 pictures of shooting. It was pictures they sent to their love in Germany. We saw a picture, and behind the killer said, my love, you see what we do with the Jewish children. We throw them like balloons and we shoot. Imagine if we don't do that, what they will do to Germany. So it was also public in Germany. Everybody knew it. It was not a secret. Holocaust by bullets in Soviet Union was public, ultra public, in the village, in the city, and in Germany. So it's why now when people said we didn't know, it's not possible. My question was how the German could shoot, because imagine shooting. It needs guns, it needs cartridges, it needs trucks, money. How they could shoot 2 million Jews without any problem. No partisan stopped the shooting. Never. Nobody stopped it. So, the German, it's what I wrote in my second book, I found their methodology. First, the night before, they choose a village and they design who will be the shooters. You tomorrow. You wake up at 4 o'clock with your gun and your cartridges and alcohol, and that's it. The Germans were driving to the village at 4 a.m. in the night, always afraid to be attacked by the partisans. They arrived to the village was surrounded by machine guns, and they convocate a woman to cook, because the Germans wanted to eat in time near the mass grave. After, they said to the Jews, of course, they didn't say to the Jews, we'll shoot you. They say, we'll deport you. We'll deport you to Palestine, or to Kiev, or to work. And you know, it was Soviet Union, it was Stalin, so people knew deportation. It was not a good news, but it was not a catastrophe. And they said to the Jews, put all your belongings on you, all your coats, it's a long road. So majority of the Jews, they try to believe it, they dress with free coats, all their money, all their jewels, anything in their pockets, and they are in a big line in the center of the city. 5 per 5. Why 5 per 5? Because Himmler in Berlin wanted to know the exact number of victims, so somebody was counting. Suddenly, with locals, they see that there are missing Jews. Some Jews are hidden, One day, a baby was missing. The German entered in the house and saw the baby under the bed. He couldn't grab it. So he took his pistol, he killed it. Another family didn't want to go out. They were closed in their home. So again, the German opened the door, he took a baby, and he smashed the head of the baby on the door. And everybody went out. And the German said, I'm so proud. I found the methodology. After a certain time, a German arrived and said, direction Palestine. So the Jews, the trick is that they were digging the mass grave not far from the train station. So that the Jews really think they take the train. The Jews walk, sometimes short, sometimes long time, but suddenly no more train. Links recht, they have to turn. At that moment, the Jews understand they will be shot. So the women take all their jewels and throw them. It's why us with metallic detector, sometimes we find wedding rings, medallion, Magen David, not in the mass grave, but where they were turning. And the men try to destroy their money. After they ask them to sit down, to undress, and to go 5 per 5 or 10 by 10 to the mass grave. Why 5? Why 10? Because 5 shooters or 10 shooters. They established a rule, 1 bullet, 1 Jew, 1 Jew, 1 bullet. It was a request of army to make economy of ammunition. They cover the mass grave and they go away. Everything will be taken. All the houses, all the dresses. Many farmers told me after 3 days we were all dressed in Jew. So don't forget that. It was a killing, but it was also stealing everything. There is no genocide without economic stealing. So after that, they decided to go as far as Azerbaijan. The last mass grave are near Baku. The last mass grave is near Moscow. So it begins in Lithuania and it finishes in Baku. What we have to learn from that, you can make a genocide public. People don't care. If they are sure, there is no danger. They are sure it was not for them. They were not Jew, they were not Gypsy, they were not communist, so they didn't care. So for me, it was the most difficult thing to accept. Because I met normal people. It was not awful people. But it was not their day. And they knew also they could get all the belongings. They could get their dresses, their houses, or the furnishment of the apartment. Why is it important to teach this part of Holocaust? Normally people think Holocaust is Auschwitz. And it's true. But in Soviet Union, no Auschwitz. It was 2 million times people shooting. There is no village without a mass grave. Even Munkach. Officially, everybody took the train. But we went in the small village above Munkach, and we discovered the Germans say, oh, too much time to go there, to bring people to shoot them. Mass graves everywhere. We saw also many testimonies of Jews from Hungary forced to walk to Ukraine and being shot at the border. I remember an old lady, she was Hungarian. She told me she was just at the border of Ukraine, of actual Ukraine, and she said, I didn't understand. My mom told me to put bread in the trees every night and it disappeared. In fact, this family was helping the Jews forced to walk. Why is it important to teach? It's not only because it's souvenir. It's not only because it happened. It's important to teach because anti-Semitism came back. This week in France, They burned a synagogue. It was the first time they burned a synagogue, nearly completely, and not far from Paris. There is not 1 week in France without an attack against the Jews. You saw in American universities many people who are pro-Palestinian, but they are more anti-Israel. And I'm professor in Georgetown. I know that sometimes the Jews are so scared. People now think the taboo of Holocaust is finished. Now people think they can say we hate Jews again, we are free. So we have to teach to our new generation, don't be paranoid, don't be afraid. But anti-Semitism is not freedom of speech. Anti-Semitism is a criminal ideology who killed millions of people years ago and goes on today. After, I would say, it's a special day to speak about Holocaust because there are still hostages from Israel in Palestine since so many days. Do you know another example where you keep hostages hundreds of days and even babies? So we have a strong challenge. We must train leaders, young leaders for tomorrow, because they will wake up in a country perhaps where very few people will help the Jews. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Father Dubois. I would just add one thing. I forget to tell to Father Dubois that majority of people here are Carpathian. And I will just mention, he mentioned a little bit that Munkach Jews was taken to the Auschwitz through the ghettos. But approximately 10 years ago, I asked him, Father Dubois, you find so much graves, mass graves, all around Ukraine here. Why you didn't find in Carpathian? So I was searching, but then I learned the following. This was just he mentioned before. The Hungarian and Germans were saying, you know very well that each village in Carpathian, even in the mountains, Carpathian mountains, every village had several families of the Jews. So their command was that don't bring him back, because they needed to bring him back. They needed the people there. Shoot him in the forest. And trust me, a lot of our relatives, grandparents, maybe are still there in the forests, because we know from our parents that from Munkach, Zurich, other cities, Ungvar, people was taken to the ghettos and then to the Auschwitz. So I just want to say, so this why it's not mass graves in Carpathia, but it's still graves of the people whom we don't know where they were shot. Thank you, Rabbi. Rabbi, I can call you Rabbi also, right? Father Dubois, it's okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Father Dubois. Now I will invite to the podium Deputy Chief of NYPD.
Thank you so much. It's a very emotional and very meaningful day to hear from Patrick DeVore. Father Patrick DeVore is just a tremendous person. I think that his work on behalf of the Jewish people and really the behalf of every person of humanity owes a tremendous debt to Father Patrick DeVore. Thank you so much, Father. Yes, like you said, many people would wonder why a priest, a father, is in a synagogue, but I couldn't think of anyone more appropriate to be here today. Thank you so much, Father. I know you're friends with the Pope in the Vatican. I know Mayor Eric Adams was actually just with the Pope just about a week ago. Yes. And the mayor made it a point to mention in his conversation with the Pope the dangers of anti-Semitism and how the mayor is leading the charge to standing up to anti-Semitism. We've all heard on October 10th where he said, right outside the United Nations, he said, we are not all right. He said, but we have hostages still in Gaza. We are not all right. And he said that we need peace in the Middle East, and that peace starts with the release of the hostages. It's powerful as it gets. And that's the tone that's set for the city, tone that's set for the police department. I'm very fortunate to be joined here today by the senior advisor to Mayor Eric Adams, the Honorable Joel Eisdorfer, who's here. You know, Joel has done a tremendous amount of work on behalf of the Jewish community in city government and beyond. They had a first of its kind, a showing of a movie, of a film called Devorah's Hope. It's a film about surviving the Holocaust and the horrific murders of the Holocaust. The first time in history, we believe, that that film, a film about the Holocaust, was shown at NYPD headquarters in Manhattan. The mayor was present for that with Joel, police commissioner, the top brass of the police department, top brass of the city, heads of many city agencies. That's something that hasn't really been done at that level before. But we recognize that we have to start doing these things because, you know, today, thank God, we have Holocaust survivors still living with us. We speak to them, we know them, they're here. You know, the mayor actually had the oldest Hatzalah member. Everyone knows Hatzalah, the volunteer ambulance service. The oldest Hatzalah member is actually a Holocaust survivor himself. His name is Yehuda Lindenblatt. He lives not too far from here in Manhattan Beach. Just about 6 months ago, by the mayor's Hanukkah event in Gracie Mansion, the mayor had Yehuda Lindenblatt, Holocaust survivor, light the Hanukkah candles at Gracie Mansion. That's also with Joel's work. It was just a tremendous sight to see. And if you think about it, there was a swastika at one of these, after October 7th, with a lot of these protests that you see, the college campuses that I'll speak about directly, Columbia University, a lot of these kids have no idea what they're saying. They have no idea what they're protesting. They are clueless to anything going on in the Middle East. They don't know the definition of basic words of what they're screaming and yelling about. It's very concerning. And we rely on leaders like the mayor, like Joel, like Father DeBoer, like Alex. Alex Roth is a leader who I know we were just together with the mayor just a couple weeks ago by the Council of Jewish Organizations of Flatbush. I know actually you're being honored by the Park East Synagogue, which I've actually been there for Shabbos many times at the Park East Synagogue in Manhattan. I know you and your wife Olga are being honored guests of honor just next month. Beautiful, with Rabbi Schneier. Beautiful. Something with Alec Krasny. So a tremendous friend for many, many years. Alec, thank you so much for your leadership in the assembly, in the state. We need people, leaders, to teach the new generation, the young generation, what it means to have gone through the Holocaust, what it means to have spoken with Holocaust survivors. And Father DeBoer, you've interviewed countless, thousands upon thousands of people who witnessed horrific murders in the Holocaust. That is tremendous, and we're relying on you to continue the work that you're doing, and we'll always support you with the work that you're doing. It's just incredible. So coming here today, I look at everyone here as truly a leader for the next generation, for our kids. You know, I'm very fortunate to have 5 kids of my own. My wife's grandparents, all 4 of my wife's grandparents were Holocaust survivors. And they've always said, we cannot ever allow any crime against humanity to ever happen again. When the Holocaust was happening, many people turned a blind eye, or they denied it. While it was happening, it was being denied. How much more so could it be denied after it happens? How much more so can it be denied 50 years from now, 100 years from now? We all have heard the motto, the saying, never again. Here, today, with our kids, going forward, we have that underlining powerful message. Just want to acknowledge, I see Gila Esquil and David Esquil, our police clergy liaisons. Thank you so much for your leadership. I know you sent the powerful message that never again truly and must always mean never again. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Tanner. And I just wanted to say that we wanted to have a surprise for our Gaelic Mayor of New York. Aricadas was supposed to come also, but he didn't promise. He just sent that message now to his senior advisor that he is stuck with the Chinese parade, what is Chinese parade, and he got. But he promised that next time, definitely he will come. And he told me to say to everybody, thank you very much for the support him on the election previously, and will be next election also. And I would like now to introduce our good friend for New York State, New York, Assemblyman Alec Brook-Russell, please.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for inviting me, Alex and all of you, to this shul. And I'm here first time after a long time, so I'm going to start by saying what we're always saying when we're starting something. Shema Israel Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Ehad. Father Dubois, it's an honor. It's an honor to meet you. Very recently, I was in Poland, just a few weeks ago. I was in Gdańsk, which was Danzig, in the area of the world where between 39 and 41, you have so many changes in the borders that sometimes people wouldn't even remember where they're really born. Like my mother-in-law, for example. We thought that she was born in Lithuania. In fact, she was born in Germany because of so many different changes in the borders because of Hitler, Stalin, Molotov, Ribbentrop, and all of them. Father Dubois, I wish you would be with me in Gdańsk in World War II Museum. In almost every room, I was about to have an argument with the people in the museum. I think that these days, it's really a common thing that people just trying to rewrite the history. Ladies and gentlemen, some people think that this world has been divided by Republicans and Democrats, by white people, black people, by Jewish people, non-Jewish people. This world, ladies and gentlemen, has been divided by the builders and destroyers. And sometimes, in some periods of a history, we're under impression that destroyers are prevailing. We feel like it's happening now. They will never prevail, but we have a very near and present danger. Deputy Chief Richie Joel, yesterday I was in Beirut. There was a demonstration of 2,000 pro-Palestinians. The 6-8 district wouldn't let me get in the crowd. Humbly speaking, they were afraid for my safety. But you know me, Alex, you know me very well. I'm never afraid. Never. But I gotta tell you, that crowd was by 80% consist by white, young ladies. In their 20s, 22, they totally indoctrinated. They just don't know what they're talking about. But that's very dangerous because like Father Dubois just said, it's just very easy to rewrite the history it's just very easy to believe in something that destroyers are telling you. I have a Holocaust survivor synagogue in my district, in Luna Park development. You all know where it is. And I'm speaking to, I used to have many, now just a few. But when I'm speaking to them now, I understand that they're afraid of what's going on now in the world. Now, Richie, when we're saying never again, at this time in a history, it has a question mark at the end. And it's just very, very dangerous. It has a question mark because Holocaust survivors are afraid again. They're afraid again. And where? In the city of New York, in the capital of the world. You and I, we wouldn't imagine something like this happening even 8 years ago. I came to this country in 1989. This country, this city, it was a city of builders. Look at our skyline. Now sometimes our streets, our bridges, sometimes even our airports, taken by destroyers. Taken by destroyers. For about 20 years, one way or another, I'm inside the government. Maybe even more than 20 years. So all these years I feel a personal responsibility of what's going on in this world. I don't know, maybe I got it from my grandfather who was in the 50s and 60s in Moscow. He was wearing a yarmulke. And he was saying, I'm wearing a yarmulke because they don't want me to wear a yarmulke. He was a very brave man. God bless his memory. So we do have a personal responsibility. I feel like people who came from the former Soviet Union, even around Soviet Union, we have a special responsibility. Because we've seen socialism. We've seen how bad it is. Personal responsibility. I'm always very loud on the floor of the assembly. I'm not politically correct. I'm not gonna be. Because we have to be loud. We have to be very clear. Builders are always prevailing. Always prevailing. We lost 6 million Jews. 6 million. And only 3 years later after that, the state of Israel will build. That's why we all have to be optimistic. Because we're fighters and we're builders, and yes, sometimes for the good people to get together in this world, Jewish people going through some big tragedies, big catastrophes, like October 7th. Just for the rest of the world to see clear where goodness is, and where builders are, and where destroyers are. But again, we've been chosen. This is our responsibility. To show to the whole world where truth is. And we're going to prevail again. And I have no doubts in my mind that our grandsons, granddaughters, my nephews, my nieces, who are fighting Hamas right now in Sahel, I have a lot of relatives in Israel. They're going to do their job. I have no doubts about it. I've been to Israel during the very difficult times. I've been there during the first Intifada, second Intifada, Delphinarium, Sbarro Pizza tragedy, Lebanon's war, Israel was always prevailing. It will prevail again. But, yes, absolutely. Absolutely, we should be very optimistic about it. We have a very strong army, very strong. One of the strongest in the world. With the tiny country, we have an army that is one of the strongest in the world. That's the builders of the state of Israel, builders of the truth and goodness. Ladies and gentlemen, what we're going to do here in this city, with all these universities where we have young people who are supposed to be the brightest, right? Harvard, Columbia, Yale, NYU. They were supposed to be the brightest. And obviously they're not. Here it's going to be our responsibility to shut destroyers up, to shut them up. I'm personally very grateful to the Mayor Adams. He's not going to be here, but I have numerous opportunities to tell him that. Because he's on the right side of the history. You can be Jewish and un-Jewish, but you still can be a builder. You will still understand what goodness is about. I'm very grateful to all of you for listening. I'm very grateful to NYPD. NYPD is always on the right side of the history. They deserve a big round of applause. Big round of applause. And just to conclude, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to share it with you. Yesterday, what was happening in Bay Ridge was happening on 5th Avenue. Between approximately 67 and 74th Street. I was unable to go there with American flag yesterday, and I understand. NYPD wouldn't let me because they have a responsibility, they have a liability. I understand that. Today, it was don't laugh. It was a Norwegian Day Parade in Bay Ridge. Norwegian Day Parade. And I used the Norwegian Day Parade as the opportunity to go on 5th Avenue, the same streets with American flag, raised high. I have a certain height that I can do that. It gave me another opportunity to feel optimistic about what's going to be happening in this city. Ladies and gentlemen, Americans are not stupid. They're going to take their country back. They're going to take their state back, and we all together, we're going to take our city back. So again, it's going to be a city of builders and never city of destroyers. Thank you all very much. Am Yisrael Chai.
Thank you. Very much appreciated. Strong message. Thank you so much. Thank you, Assemblyman, for touching on Israel. All of you will have a very special speaker. It happened to be my daughter who traveled to Israel with Federation, Metro West Federation of New Jersey, 4 days trip solidarity with Israel. She visited Barry, she visited all the atrocities. She's gonna share with us her story. Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you, Mom. Before I begin, I just want to take a minute to acknowledge that we are now 225 days into the war in Gaza, and there are still 128 hostages in captivity. Please, God, let them all get back home safe and sound to their families today. Hello. Thank you for letting me be a part of this very special program. It is encouraging to see this room filled with so many people. As the number of Holocaust survivors dwindle, it is imperative that we continue to share and hear their stories. I am a granddaughter of 4 Holocaust survivors, Rivka, Moshe Leib, Gittel, and Dov. May they all rest in peace. My grandparents didn't talk to me about their experiences in the camps, but I know that they were haunted by them. I could see it in their eyes when they would stare off into the distance, or when they would make sure that every morsel of food was eaten at mealtime. The trauma was there, the words were not. Maybe it was because of this that the Holocaust has become somewhat of an obsession to me. From a very young age, I was always hungry for knowledge. I have read countless books. I have visited many Holocaust museums. I never miss an opportunity to hear a survivor speak, and ever since my kids were mature enough, I would bring them along with me. In my home, Yom HaShoah is marked by lighting a yahrzeit candle and talking about what it means to be Holocaust descendants, because this is the way to truly never forget. Admittedly, before October 7th, I thought that we were safe from anti-Semitism. Naive, huh? I believed we had come a long way from the days of the 1930s and the 1940s, and that we were reaping the benefits of Holocaust education. We have Israel. We have an American government that supports Israel. And we have a nationwide hate has no home here campaign. We're good, I thought. No way could the Holocaust ever happen again. But then the unimaginable happened, October 7th, the deadliest day for Jews since the Holocaust. As reports came in from Israel of murders, rapes, kidnappings, assaults, the numbers rising and rising, I, like all of you, just could not believe it. How can a group of people have this much hate for us that they commit such barbaric crimes? Surely, I thought, the world will now realize the kinds of challenges that Israel faces with her neighbors. And then October 8th happened. Instead of sympathizing with Israel, the world turned against us. The crimes Hamas committed were defined as acts of resistance. Killing babies, raping women, kidnapping Holocaust survivors, torturing innocent people, all in the name of resistance? And the world is buying into it. Keep in mind, this is October 8th. Israel hadn't even begun its ground invasion yet, and already we were the bad guys. We didn't even get the chance to grieve. Here in the US, the anti-Semitism that I thought had been eliminated started to seep into mainstream culture. Buzzwords like genocidal, apartheid, colonizers, and oppressors were used to describe Israel over and over again. College campuses were swarmed with protests, encampments, and professional agitators using hate speech under the guise of free speech, with the sole intention of bullying and intimidating the Jewish population. Students shouting from the river to the sea and globalized intifada, with most of them not knowing exactly what either of those mean. And make no mistake, the administration and even the professors were standing shoulder to shoulder with them. In the US alone, anti-Semitic incidents surged 360% since the Hamas attack, and that number continues to rise. It was apparent that there was a new slogan: hate has no home here unless you are a Jew. Suddenly, it has become okay to hate the Jews, The way everyone demonizes Israel and normalizes anti-Semitic speech is alarming. I couldn't help but connect the dots. This is exactly how the Holocaust happened. I found myself shifting my obsession from Holocaust to the war in Gaza. I watch every clip that is posted to Facebook, WhatsApp, and Instagram. I listen to podcasts, I read articles. So in January, when I was invited to travel on a solidarity mission to Israel with the Jewish Federation of Greater Metro West New Jersey, I jumped at the idea. Israel was hurting, and I needed to be there. My goals were simple. I wanted to bear witness, hug as many people as I could, and I wanted to help the economy. So after telling my husband to make sure the kids eat, shower, and go to school, I was off to the airport. Being in Israel was such a stark contrast to being in the United States. Everyone has been impacted by the war, and you feel the air is heavier. In the airport, on the ramp to the customs, on the sides of the roads, in public squares, there were hostage posters, unity signs, Israel flags, and my favorite sign, Beyachad Nenatzeach. Together, we will win. Yes, there is a lot of trauma, but there are also glimmers of hope. During the 72-hour trip, we met with Shelley Shem Tov, whose son Omer is a hostage in Gaza. Shelley tells Omer's story 15 times a day, every day. She is determined to share it with as many people as possible. Even with that intensity, she's not on autopilot. Her emotions and desperation are palpable. It is difficult to explain what it feels like to be in the same room as a mother whose son is held in captivity. There was not a single dry eye in the room. We visit several communities in the Gaza envelope that were ruthlessly attacked on October 7th, including Ofakim, Kibbutz Be'eri, and Kibbutz Erez. The devastation these communities suffered cannot be described with words. We saw bullet holes, burnt homes, vandalized buildings, destroyed playgrounds, etc., etc. Ironically, I came to Israel to bring my support, but I was shocked though maybe I shouldn't have been, at the resilience I saw in the Israelis I met. We saw Israelis working together to rebuild. We saw beautiful murals being painted over the bullet holes and volunteers harvesting crops. Despite all the loss and all the trauma and all the fighting, the general feeling was, Ein li eretz acheret, I have no other country. As I was reflecting on my trip, I came to an epiphany. While yes, there are so many parallels between 2024 and the 1930s, there is one huge difference. We now have Israel. We have a strong army. We have a united people who are willing to fight for our freedom and security. Jewish blood is no longer cheap. And perhaps that is why the world is against us right now. They're surprised. They weren't expecting us to fight back with such force. They are not used to seeing the Jews in this light. And how lucky are we to be able to have a homeland after thousands of years in exile? Imagine if the Jews had a safe haven to go to in the 1930s. Would the Holocaust have ever even happened? Never again. Israel and the IDF will make sure of it. And we too have our voices. When University of Pennsylvania, MIT, and Harvard all failed to condemn the anti-Semitism that was surging on their campuses, the presidents of these prestigious universities were called to Congress to testify. As a consequence, they were all ridiculed, and 2 of the 3 presidents ended up resigning. We Jews in the diaspora will not be silent. We might be few in numbers, but we are mighty in our advocacy. I don't know how this will end, but I do know that we have survived Pharaoh, Haman, the Romans, the Greeks, the Crusades, the Holocaust. And to quote the amazing author Noah Tishby, we know one thing for sure, and that is even 1,000 years from now, women around the world are going to light Shabbat candles. Am Yisrael Chai. Thank you.
Now we're gonna get ready to light the candles in memory of Holocaust parish. Thank you. I will invite Alex Roth to light the first candle. Thank you, Alex. Now I will invite Father Patrick Dubois. Next candle, I will invite George Mantley. Thank you all. Next candle, I invite Judy and Sophie Pism. Thank you. Next candle, I will invite Holocaust survivor David Hertz. Thank you, David. Thank you. And now I'm going to invite my family to light the candle, the sixth candle. Please, all of you. I'm so proud of all of you. You're all involved in the Jewish studies, and you cannot make me prouder than today to stand here with me. Thank you, kids. you.
המצא מנוחה נכונה על כנפי השכינה במעלות קדושים וטהורים כזוהר הרקיע מאירים ומזהירים לנשמות אחינו ואחיותינו 6 מיליונים מישראל אנשים ונשים ילדים וילדות שנהרגו שנשחטו ושנשרפו ושגבו ברעב ונקברו חיים ועוד מיתות משונות על ידי הנאצים הארורים ועוזריהם יימח שמם באושוויץ בירקנאו, מיידנק, מאוטהאוזן ובשאר מחנות השמדה באירופה ומסרו נפשם על קידוש השם בעבור שהחברים, החברות, the Carpathian Association ועדיין מתפללים ובלי נדר נוטבים לצדקה ביד הזכרת נשמותיכם לכן בעל הרחמים יסתירם בשית הכנף רומים ויצרור בצרור החיים את נשמותיכם תהא מנוחתם, אדוני הוא נחלתם, ארץ אל תחסי דמם, ואל יהא מקום זכתם. בזכותם נדחי ישראל, ישוב לחזתם, והקדושים לזכרו, תמיד נגד אדוני צדקתם. יבוא שלום וינוחו לשלום על משכבם וידמו
Association of Carpathian Jews in the United States of America, Certificate of Appreciation, Father Patadibas. This certificate is granted to you by children of Holocaust survivors from the Carpathia. With great respect, we acknowledge your extensive research in Holocaust studies. We deeply appreciate your tireless contribution and commitment. God bless you.